Tag Kenneth. That's right. Text Curry to 76626 or you can call Kenneth Curry at 870-514-8138. That's right. Take back your life by contacting the credit guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the appropriate ages, it is now time for the least mediocre of all the mediocre sports talk shows in the Mid-South. It's time for the Eye on Sports with B-Ball Jones. Every weekday morning at 8 o'clock, right here on AM 730. Here we go. That's right, everybody. Good morning. It's Ira Lipsy here, the Eye on Sports. It is that time again, time for the Eye on Sports with B-Ball Jones and the true guru behind the glass, Mark Kaplan. Live every morning here on AM 1600, the power-packed version, no longer on scratchy 7:30 a.m., but now on a very clear signal on 1600. Also, live streaming on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and stream and search WMQM 1600 AM. You should be able to find the live stream of the broadcast. You can see our beautiful new digs. You can see the true guru up in the right upper left corner. Wave to the fans, Mark. Woo! You have to use your hand to wave. Wave? Maybe?
Is that better?
Well, I don't see it. Maybe it's a delay, so I don't see it yet. Anyway, yeah, it'll be a little delay. I'm just trying to watch to see if what pops up. Anyway, lots of big news to talk about today. We've got news from the National Basketball Association. B-Ball Jones, Jay Brenner will be here sooner than later. He is, like I said, he is on Mr. Mom duty this week, as his lovely wife is unavailable for carpool duty, so he's got to take both kids to school. Got some interesting stuff to talk about, including a Joel Embiid bomb that's going to get him fined for sure. Grizzlies suffer a tough loss. Unbelievable comeback in the Atlantic Athletic, what are they called? The AAC, the ACC, Atlantic Conference. What are they? Atlantic
Coastal Conference?
What does ACC stand for?
Isn't it Atlantic Coastal Conference?
Shh. I don't know. For some reason, I'm drawing a complete blank. Anyway, great comeback by the Duke Blue Devils at Louisville. And another.
See it?
You know what I did? I caught the last 4 or 5 minutes. I was watching a little bit in the first half, and I saw what the score was, and I wasn't really paying that much attention. Then I flipped back, and I saw it was close, and then, what a comeback. And then I saw that the Louisiana State University Tigers, a team that the Memphis Tigers have lost to this year, in a pretty good ball game, beat Kentucky at Kentucky. We'll talk about that a little bit, maybe a little bit more than what we just talked about. Also, some news out of baseball that I want to get to, and I have some random questions that I'll try and save for B-Ball Jones when he gets here. A couple of weird random questions that, when you have a brilliant mind like myself, that you just can't control the way things work in here. And there's just so many things flying around, and sometimes there's no order to the universe or to my brain. So just weird questions pop in there, and I have to get to some of those in a bit.
Holy cow!
Did you ever see, do you remember, Mark, do you remember the Jimmy the Cab Driver commercials on MTV?
I don't think so.
So the actor's name was Donald Logue, and if you saw that picture of him, you would recognize him immediately from tons of stuff that he's been in. And he was in these commercials for MTV, and he's playing this character, Jimmy the Cab Driver, this real greasy guy, and he's just totally weird. And he's like, yeah, I got a spaceship mind. Who's driving? I'm like the co-pilot. Who's the pilot? I don't even know. He's just totally weird. That's the way I feel sometimes. But last night, the Memphis Grizzlies, with their new look roster, played at home. Were you at the game last night?
No, I did not. I didn't even really watch the game.
Yeah, I really didn't watch that much either. The Grizzlies played the San Antonio Spurs. Sans Mike Conley, who was on the bench with a quote-unquote illness. And sometimes that just means rest, but I bet he was probably, if he says he's sick, I bet he was sick. There's a lot of that going around. They play the San Antonio Spurs, who are, they're not suffering, but they are in the midst of one of their more mediocre seasons of late. They're still in the playoff hunt, but certainly not the San Antonio Spurs that you're really used to. But we did get to see the young guns in action, so to speak. We got to see Avery Bradley go nuts for 33 points. And then Valanciunas had 23 points. Now, you would have hoped to get some good supplemental action from Triple J, Jaren Jackson, Ivan Rabb, some of the guys who had started to, really flourish with, under the new look team. Jackson struggled a bit last night, only had 9 and 5. Rabb only played 11 minutes, 2 points, 3 rebounds. I'm really skeptical just watching. Like I said, I watched a few minutes here and there, and then I tried to watch a bit down the stretches. It really ended up being a close game. Jaren Jackson Jr. had 2 free throws with a second left with a chance to tie the game. He missed the first and then made the second while trying to miss the second. And how often does that happen?
Where a guy so bad at missing?
Huh?
How are they so bad at missing?
That's a great question, Mark. I don't know how. I don't know if that's something that they ever work on. If there's ever. I guess they would. I would imagine. They work on half court shots. They work on last second tip drill type plays. I wonder if they really do go to the free throw line at a practice and say, all right, here's the situation. We got 1.2 left. We got to get an offensive rebound and a shot up at 1.2. Free throw shooter, go miss the free throw. And, so I guess he figured he'd go long and try and bank it off the glass and then off the rim. Of course, he tried to bank it and it went in. I would always opt for nothing ever good comes of trying to miss a free throw long. Like a lot of guys are trying to aim for the back iron, so it goes off high. I would say your best bet is to try and hit it hard and short, like right off the front of the rim. So where even if the defensive player has better position, it might come off at such a weird angle and speed that he's unable to handle it. Whatever. It's one game and a season where you're not going to the playoffs. It was just, tough break that he tried to make and missed and tried to miss and made. And then all the Spurs had to do was inbound or whatever.
The other big controversy.
What, from that game?
Yeah.
What?
The Spurs committed 1 foul in the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, they were talking about that. Pete and Brevin were talking about the foul situation, and you don't really notice until you notice, and I wasn't really paying that close attention. It was kind of bad. There were several plays where they showed like the slow-mo instant replay where you would go down the court and what's his name for San Antonio, Aldridge tried to like post up on Valanciunas, and JV, as they call him, JV blocked him, and then they called a foul because it was just like so emphatic that he packed him that I guess they just figured he fouled, so they called a foul. And then you come down the court, he drives a lane and gets like double slapped across the arms as he goes up for a layup, and there's no call. So yeah, it was pretty bad. And of course, something happened in the Sixers game, and we'll get to that, which caused Joel Embiid to go off. Also at the referees. Being someone who is a former referee, it's like I'm really on the fence regarding referee criticism. If you want to criticize referees for certain calls, yeah, you want to make sure the referees are at their best, especially at the end of the game. But on the other hand, it's like, hey, if you would have made, 3 less turnovers and you would have made 2 or 3 more free throws and you would have been better at taking care of the basketball, then you wouldn't have been in a situation where the referee dictated how the game played out.
Yeah, but, I feel like all season the Grizzlies, as I think Fizdale used to say, they got rooked. I mean, you
all season, talk about all franchise. The Grizzlies have always seemed to seemingly on the short end of the beneficial call stick.
Yeah, I mean, even Jaren Jackson, I feel like he gets a lot of touchy fouls called against him. I mean, I just feel like they don't respect us. They respect the Spurs, and I think even Bickerstaff said it. He's like, we don't get the same respect that the Spurs do, and I think that's ridiculous. I mean, there's no way in an NBA game when you have guys that post up and all that stuff that the other team only committed 1 foul for the entire quarter.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Mark. And the weird thing about that is, pardon me, the weird thing about that is that you would think that the referees, you talk about the Grizzlies don't get respect. Now, I understand if the referees are doing their pregame homework and they're like, look, this rookie, Jaren Jackson, has a propensity for making these silly fouls, so you just got to watch him, and then he ends up getting more fouls than what he probably should because they're keeping an eye on him. But the fact that an NBA referee would have more or less respect for a particular team is, that's basically cheating. In some respects. I wouldn't go so far to say it's like fixing the game, but there's no rhyme or reason to why a referee should give one team calls and not another team. They're supposed to be completely impartial, and it's just weird that. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you're probably right. It does seem like referees respect other teams or players more than others, and it's basically cheating. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. No, I agree with what you said. I mean, you wouldn't assume that would happen, but it does seem like that way too often.
Yeah, it really does, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the Grizzlies seemingly have always been on the short end of that stick. But whatever. So, like I said, it's just another game in a season that's going to be, I guess, a throwaway season. Speaking of throwaway season, and hopefully the throwaway will lead to a high draft pick, preferably number 1. The Duke Blue Devils, number 2 in the country, they just come off a big win against Virginia over the weekend. They were playing at the Yum Center in Louisville, formerly known as Freedom Hall. And, golly, I really hate saying this. I'm, watching the game, and it's like I'm kind of rooting for Louisville to win. But then when it was over, I was like, what am I doing? I don't really care if Louisville loses or not, because I hate Louisville. Going back to the 1980s, when they had Milt Wagner and Lancaster Flash Gordon and the McRae brothers and Purvis Ellison. Huh?
So that was a great team.
They were good, and we hated them. And we hated Denny Crum, and you'd be at the Mid-South Coliseum, and 10,000 people would be packed in there, and it was so loud, and they'd be yelling, "Crumb's a scum." And we were playing at Cheatham Hall. Those were some good rivalry games. I have to ask Jay when he comes in who he thinks is even remotely close to a Louisville-esque type rival of Memphis when it comes to basketball. But anyway, the Duke Blue Devils down by 23 points with 9 minutes left. Zion Williamson, the Zion of Zionism of basketball, he was on the bench with 4 fouls. He brought him back in the game, and then they go on a 35-10 run for the last 9.5 minutes to win the game. And it was just like Louisville. They turned the ball over. They couldn't hang on to it. They couldn't hit shots. And Duke was just everywhere and just doing everything right. And this is like the quote of the millennium from a guy who rarely gives you a good quote. And technically, it wasn't his quote. It was Zion Williamson that said it in the. Did you see this? What he said?
No, I watched the last 8 minutes of that game. I turned it on right when they started.
Yeah, so I did too. I mean, I watched the last 4 minutes. But what happened was, after the game, they go directly to SportsCenter, and then they go back to the stadium to get some post game reaction, and they say they're asking Zion Williamson about the game, about the comeback, etc. And what does he say? Well, what did Coach K say to y'all to get you guys back in this game? And he said, Coach K says, I don't coach losers. And I was like, damn, that's I never would have thought that would have been like a Coach K. He said, during the whole game we were down, he said, we can come back. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. But, look, guys, I don't coach losers. You're going to go out there and kick some ace. And it was pretty impressive the way they played. I like the guy on the team on Duke that's is it Reddish?
Yeah.
Reddish is really good. Williamson's really good. I mean, Williamson had 27 points. The guy can jump, so he's a freak. Like I said, I'm still going to reserve my judgment for him as a professional, until he gets to the pros, because he is only 6'5". But can he be like the second coming of Charles Barkley, where he can jump super high, very athletic? Charles Barkley in the early and late 80s, not the 1995 jacking threes for Houston Charles Barkley.
So the announcers kept saying something. I actually agreed with them. It seemed like during that entire run, the announcers kept saying no one on Louisville wants the ball. And you got that feeling that they were all scared to have the ball.
You're
they
right.
didn't know what to do with it. It was just amazing to see a team just collapse and literally have no clue what to do, no clue how to score.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Jay's favorite, and speaking of which, Jay's here. Welcome, Jay. Be well, Jones.
Good morning.
Jay's favorite, the play-by-play guy, Reese Davis, actually said that it was like they were trying to hang on to a ball that was greased up with baby oil and covered with rattlesnakes.
Reese Davis is the best in the business. Ira,
You're being facetious, I hope.
yes.
Okay, good. I don't dislike Reese Davis, but I don't really like him so much.
Reese Davis. Ira,
Jay.
it's the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Atlantic Coast. Okay, that's what we thought.
What's wrong with you people? Also, and I think you know this, the Yum Center wasn't formerly Freedom Hall. The Louisville Cardinals used to play in Freedom Hall. The Yum Center is new. It's downtown. Freedom Hall is out by the fairgrounds, next to the old baseball stadium, which used to be their football stadium, etc.
Okay, thank you for the clarification on that one. In fact, I stayed when I went to the Final Four in 1985. We couldn't stay in Lexington. We didn't have a room there, but we ended up staying in Louisville at a hotel next door to Freedom Hall. There were two hotels across the parking lot from each other,
Mm-hmm.
Executive East, Executive West.
Yeah.
And we stayed in one of those. It was right across from Freedom Hall.
I went to the early aughts Conference USA tournaments in Louisville,
yeah.
and stayed in some janked motel
Oh, I'll bet you did.
before watching Memphis beat South Florida.
Was it on Skid Row?
It was in the quarterfinals, and then lose to Louisville.
Who was on that South Florida team? B.B. Walden?
I think so, yeah. That was the Seth Greenberg era.
Altron Jackson?
What I remember for sure was that Louisville team did have Taekwon Dean, Francisco Garcia, the guys you were mentioning yesterday.
Dewan Wheat.
Some big
Jamoke.
Miles or something.
I
I don't know. That was like year two.
Well, his first and last name was Miles?
No, I'm making that up.
Miles?
I think Miles was one of his names, either his first or last.
I don't remember.
I have some other thoughts on Louisville and some of the other things you mentioned. That
Louisville and Duke.
Yeah,
The Grizz.
the Grizz.
We
got a Tiger game tonight. You haven't even mentioned
I
that
was
yet.
about to say, coming up after the break, we got a University of Memphis tilt.
We're going to extensively preview the East Carolina Pirates.
And when Jay says extensively, he means like more than 22 seconds, but not much more. All right?
I'm gonna break it down for you in a really simple way.
All right, great. And I've got a couple of random questions I've been saving, so we're going to get to that as well. When we come back, it's the Eye on Sports with B-Ball Jones right after this.
Are you looking for a good, honest mechanic? Well, you have found one. Hi, my name is Mark Williams, owner of Automotive Repair for Less, offering you lesser rates for your automobile repair. We do major and minor work replacing engines, transmissions, tune-ups, brakes, and almost anything you need in automotive repair. I'm located at 2975 James Road, in between Wharf and Hollywood, on top of the Overpass Bridge. My number is 901-859-6169. That is again, 901-859-6169. Hopefully I hear from you. Automotive Repair for Less.
I have a very honest golf instructor. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Bensdorf Realtors. My instructor is Marty Fulton, a PGA Life member whom you may remember from Plantation, Whispering Woods, or Holiday Golf Club. When I asked him what I might do to improve my game, Marty, what did you tell me?
Sheldon, I told you to get your clubs together, put them in your car, then take them to the nearest lake and toss them in.
Great, Marty, you're a big help.
Sheldon, you're far better at selling homes than you'll ever be at golf. That's why people often say when you want the job done, call Sheldon.
Thanks, Marty. And if you or someone you know is thinking about selling their home, you should talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers and make sure that I am one of them. Find out the difference in what they do in my highly successful strategic marketing program with the Shellbucks option. You or they can reach me at 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. That's Sheldon Rosengarten at 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now.
Hey everybody, the Ion Sports here to tell you about Advatech. Advatech is a local IT company that manages your business's computer network and technology. They make sure your network is secure to prevent any type of security breach which could possibly compromise your company's information or your customers' information. Advatech is a one-stop shop for any computer problems. No need to waste valuable time on calling tech support. One call, they will handle everything for you. Advatech can also help you save on average $500 a month on your office phones and internet costs by doing a vendor cost analysis for their customers. If you own a business and are tired of frustrating computer issues, call Advatech. Advatech, we are your IT department. Call 901-262-7925 or email support@advatech.com. ADVATEK, Advatech 262-7925.
Good guy, and he'll come in there and he'll give your car attention. He'll tell you what's wrong with it. He'll sell you on it. But whether they get it right or not, I have no idea. I paid that like $1,500. Yeah, I went. That's not what you want to hear, right?
Mark, in the future, if you're going to want to play songs like this or like Pinball Wizard, let me know the day before. I can go in and edit down the intros. So you have like a little bit less of the, we'll get more to the meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What?
More on the fly. Like, oh, let's get some.
No, I know. I'm just you know, if we're going to be the best in Memphis, or basically the best in the world, then, you know, you gotta tighten it up. Speaking of which, this is a great song by Archie Bell and the Drells called "The Tighten Up."
All right, name the movie. Tight. Get a little tighter. Just to tighten it up. Tighten it up.
I don't know. I thought you were going to ask me what movie from Sweet Emotion.
Oh, that's
Dazed? Yeah. I don't know. What are you talking about?
It's an odd reference, but it's Knocked Up. When she tells her boss she's pregnant, and he's like, "Great, you're gonna have the baby, and then you're gonna tighten it up. Just tighten it up a little bit."
Yeah.
And he goes, and he's giving her this.
Yeah, I got you. What do you think? What do you think of Katherine Heigl?
I love that movie.
What do you think of Katherine Heigl?
She's fine. What else was she in that I would know? I don't know that.
She's in 27 Dresses.
Didn't see it.
She's in Grey's Anatomy.
Didn't watch it.
Yeah, basically. Then also she has a bit of a reputation around Hollywood.
Oh, she does?
For being like the worst to have to work with.
Oh, is that right?
I mean, whatever. I get the Hollywood Reporter and the Variety delivered to the house daily because I want to make sure I'm on top of what's going on. And
I'd like to work with her.
The Wood. You'd like to work with her? We can make arrangements for you.
Yeah, let's get her on the show.
No problem.
Right after you get Proctor.
Yeah, right after you get Proctor and John Ashton, a.k.a. Taggart, from the Beverly Hills Cop movies. Jay, I want to say something to you first before I get to the Tigers game. So this morning, I'm looking for highlights, and I don't know why ESPN refuses to show highlights. They just spend so much time talking. Number one, unrelated to what I was actually going to say to you, Jalen, what's his name? Jalen Rose is on there wearing like a suit with like a full-on turtleneck. Not a mock turtleneck. The full, like, fold-over turtleneck. I'm like, bro, turtlenecks.
When was the last time you wore a turtleneck?
1990. underneath the Cosby-esque sweater to high school.
I used to have some nice turtlenecks. Mark,
I did too.
Mark, how many turtlenecks do you own?
Approximately 0.
Approximately. Meaning you have a couple.
I have 0.
How many mocks, though?
Also no mocks as well.
Any half zips? You got to have a half zip with like a turtleneck-esque collar.
Okay, I have a half zip.
Yeah.
Half zip would only be a turtleneck-esque collar if you wear it zipped up to the brim.
No, I mean it's a shirt with a neck, with an extended neck.
Actually,
that doesn't fold over.
My Aunt Sue Ann, Ira's mom, got that for me.
I bet she did.
The half zip.
The half zip. Yeah.
Hey, please don't use her real name on the air. It's the Mom on Sports.
The Mom on Sports. Sorry.
Yeah. Mom on Sports.
Apologies.
Mom on Sports is a big listener to the show, so don't be careful.
Yeah, let's protect her.
Don't give her away her identity.
It's okay. Right. She doesn't mind. She's got a lot of fans out there.
Shout out.
The point is, I flip on that stupid show they have on in the morning, Get Up or whatever, and I catch just in time for Mike Greenberg to say, "Talk show host 101." When you end up on both sides of the argument.
What?
Just in general, whatever they were talking about, but that's something that you always like.
Like, don't end up on both sides of the argument?
Like that's like Talk Show Host 101, that you end up on both sides. Like, you always ask me some question, and I'll say something, and then I'll kind of talk about the other side of it, too, and you're like, you didn't just give me a straight answer. And I say, yeah, it's Talk Show Host 101. You're supposed to straddle the fence, so to speak.
Well, I feel like you should teach that class, because you do more than straddle the fence. You like, tear down the fence, shred it in a wood chipper, and
then rebuild it with myself in the middle of it.
Something.
Yeah. Okay.
Some odd thing that happens when you.
Yep. All right, Jay. It's that time again. Penny Watch.
Yep. Tigers are in action tonight at East Carolina. Ira, one of two things is going to happen. You ready?
I can guess.
Go for it.
Memphis will either win,
right,
or they'll lose.
That is correct. But extrapolating out further, Memphis will either snap their road losing streak and win their second true road game of the year, the second true road game of Penny Hardaway's career, or they will suffer sort of a new embarrassing low, and we'll be talking about it pretty much all show, and there will be tremendous heat on this head coach. Tigers 8.5-point favorites. Ira, I'm going to switch out my chair because this is sort of untenable.
Okay, go ahead. And while you're at it, move these other chairs away from the camera. Silent. I'm getting some text here from legendary producer extraordinaire, Big Game Shane of 7:30 a.m. says, you got some chairs in the way, buddy. Thank you, Shane. We got it.
Shane's almost like an executive producer around here.
Yeah, he's probably, that's a good idea.
Or senior producer.
Executive producer.
Has a little flair to it.
Sure.
Senior executive producer Shane.
The brain.
Tigers are 6-5 in the league. If they win, they'll move into a 4-way tie for third place.
If they win, they'll be 7-5 in the league.
In the win column. You like that? Oh my God. This one's sinking too. What's our chair budget around here?
0.0
Blutarski. I'll switch this out in a minute. East Carolina, Ira, 2-9 in in the league. I know they beat Tulane because everybody's beat Tulane. They don't have a win.
Tulane in the brain.
Other than that, they are on a streak of losses dating
3 in a row.
pretty consistent. Oh, East Carolina. Now they lost to South Florida. They lost to Wichita State. They lost to Connecticut. Right. They beat Tulane by a point.
They've lost 3 in a row.
Lost to South Florida. Lost to Houston by 44. This is not a good basketball team. Lost at home. At home, they've kept it within 20 to South Florida. They lost by 16. They're not good.
You know, yesterday.
Memphis needs to come out and win this game.
You know, yesterday.
You get out and you find the damn dog. Go ahead.
You know, yesterday when you said that the Marvin Menzies at UNLV, and I said,
Yeah.
and I said, didn't he used to coach at East Carolina? The reason why I say that, that's not the first time I've ever made that mistake, is because East Carolina plays at Menzies Coliseum.
Well, Ira, you're just gonna have to straighten that out in your head.
No, I got it now. But now I see written down that
Menzies Coliseum.
that they play Williams Arena at Menzies Coliseum, and I'm like, that's why I got so confused.
Did I ever tell you the time I ran it? I know I did. I'm going to say it again. I ran into Jeff Lebo, the former East Carolina coach, at a Qdoba in Las Colinas.
Yeah,
when I was doing the drywall up at the McDonald's over there.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
You look like you're about to go do some drywall.
I might have to.
Do you know how to do drywall?
You pretty much, you put it on there and you nail it into the studs, and then you take some spackle, some sort of, softer stuff, mud, thank you.
Yeah.
You mud the seams, you smooth it out, you sand it, you mud it again, and when you're done, you don't do any of that. You pay somebody to do it, and you move on.
You could paint it afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, you paint it.
That's good. That's pretty much, you pretty much nailed it. Good job.
Pretty much it. You got to measure it out. Of course, you're going to want some crown molding.
Sometimes
I'm sure in your rentals,
sometimes
extensive crown molding, of course.
Yeah, sometimes like if you don't get the exact measurements right and you have like a little bit of space in between, you'll use this mesh tape.
Yeah.
You put the tape between the seams.
Right,
and
that's true.
You fill that in with the mud.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think the spread, did you say the spread? Did I say the spread 8.5 tonight?
So I'm looking for it, and this says the spread is Memphis minus 435. So I don't know. This must be the money line.
435 points.
Well, I mean, I'm just showing you.
Yeah, Memphis minus 8.5. The over under 151. I like the total in this game.
Over
to go over.
Well, last game when they played in Memphis, it hit 150.
Have we played them already?
We played them January 10th.
Oh, that's right. They played us pretty tough.
Yeah, they started out up like 12 on us.
Yeah, they're going to have revenge on their minds. I actually think it's going to be closer than Memphis fans might want. But who knows? We'll see. Penny Hardaway's been going with his seniors. Mark, go ahead.
No, I was wondering what's a good win in your eyes, Jay. Like
any win.
Okay, so if they win by 5 points,
any win.
The same thing as winning by 20
a road win,
points.
absolutely.
Okay,
a win will feel good, especially coming off of a win over UConn. Get 2 in a row now. Look, this season, no matter, well, that's not true. They could lose every game or win every game, and it would feel a lot different. But assuming you avoid those extremes, because you're going to, there's no way this team could win every game, and there's no way they could lose every game. I mean, there's probably some chance they could lose every game.
Are you aware there's only 3 home games left?
Yeah, it's funny. We bought season tickets this year. Stupidest, literally, looking back on my life, the stupidest thing I've ever purchased, major purchase, was season tickets this year. And that's without, there's not a close second.
Really?
I cannot imagine a close
Only
second.
because you couldn't go and you also got tickets from other sources.
Well, but the other sources I knew, but I've got a 1-year-old. And our daughter plays club volleyball during the basketball season, so every weekend. And and those were things that we knew.
You got to put the kibosh on that club volleyball nonsense.
That brings up a good point, Jay. Ira, what's the dumbest thing you've ever purchased?
Ever. Major purchase. Got to be over $500.
Ooh, over $500?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about that. That's tough.
Mark?
I wouldn't say over $500, but one time I got an acupuncture, and they're like, here's like $150 back cream, and I couldn't say no. And I have used it 0 times.
Where did you go?
Time out. What is back cream?
No, it's not back cream.
Yeah, what is back cream?
Rub this on your back, and it's gonna make it feel better.
What was it? Woodlock oil?
I don't know. It's still sitting wherever I bought it.
Was it Salon Pods?
Salon Pods.
That's the dumbest purchase I've ever made.
Where did you go? Where was the acupuncture? In Memphis?
Hey, we're not going to let Ira off the hook on
Wait,
this.
was it in Memphis?
Yeah.
Or did you go to my guy?
I don't know who your guy is. I've only done it once. I didn't like it. But they're like, that's going to be $250.
I love it.
For that? And they're like, oh, here's this cream too. And I was like,
hey, time out. Was it like a hot girl that was selling it to you? Is that why you couldn't say no? Because I got to tell you, I'm susceptible to certain sales pitches. I'm not the most disciplined person, but I could turn down $150 back cream no matter how good the acupuncture was.
Did the label say back cream?
No, it did not say back cream.
Hey, how about this back cream?
Yeah. How big was the tube?
Was it like Flexol? It was a bucket.
It was like, it had a top and everything.
It had a top and everything. It wasn't sealed, but it had a top.
What's the difference?
No. You know, like when you open up like a thing of toothpaste and you take off the cap, but it's got the sealing, the sealant on it. Yeah, his was open, but
it had two fingers
half full.
All right. Good Lord.
I'm seriously, I have to think about a purchase.
Well, give it some thought because we're not letting you off the hook on this. I know. So you ask Ira.
Shane says it was Blue Emu. I think Johnny Bench promotes Blue Emu oil. Whatever topic.
You ask Ira a hard question, he punts. There was a time
I'm not punting.
Months ago. I'll think about it.
I'm not punting. The purchase over $500 that was really stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, like I bought stereos, I bought bikes, but I mean, I got use out of them, so they weren't that stupid.
Right, but you bought something stupid. Like a weight, like
I'm
this.
sure.
Yeah.
But you're talking about over $500. I mean,
Yeah.
When have I ever had $500 in my life?
I think you threw around some cash. You mentioned that LSU. Oh, here's what I wanted to say about Louisville.
Let me ask you a question.
Please.
Would you say that someone who spends $500 or more in a gentleman's club, would you say that's a stupid purchase?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you're willing to sort of describe the story and the general nature of the purchase.
Me personally, never. But I've been to gentlemen's.
A friend of mine.
No, I've been.
He and her got it on. Woo-wee!
No, they didn't. But I've been to gentlemen's clubs with people that have spent like 4 figures.
Yeah.
And I would walk out of there and I would be like, what in the hell is the matter with you? And I wouldn't tell them that because they thought it was so much fun.
Let me tell you something.
But that's their business.
That is a recipe for disaster.
Oh, absolutely.
Casinos and strip, just absolute. They prey on your absolute, core instincts. And the
you got to be mentally tougher than that.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you know what? Now that you mentioned it, I would have to say.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was the Malacca guys.
I would have to say, spending money in a casino is probably the worst over $500 purchase I've ever done.
Yeah.
I've really never bought anything that was that foolish, I don't think. But yeah, spending money on gambling, like at a casino, when you start, you're like, yeah, man, I'm gonna chase down the 200 that I lost by pulling 1,000 out of the ATM.
It works every time.
Yeah, it's like Colt 45, baby.
We talked about this yesterday, right? Harris.
Yeah, we did.
Shuddered.
We did.
Yes, you're still amazed by this whole Harris thing.
Well, it's like I used to the attorney that I worked for that you all know. When I first got it, he used to go on and on and on. You could see the Sears building from his office. He used to go on and on about how amazing it was that you could be at the top of the world one day and be shuttered the next. And now the Sears building is back, but it sat there empty for years and years. But it just blows my mind that the Grand Casino.
Oh, you're talking about Crosstown.
In Tunica, yeah, Sears Crosstown.
I gotcha.
That the Grand Casino is just an empty building.
What would you do with a building like that?
Well, you got to tear it down. There's really no use other than, I mean, I guess you could turn it into like a mega church or sort of a mega community center.
How about an indoor, paintball facility?
There you go. Well, you're the real estate king, so.
Yeah.
You repurposed
Me and Ray Zielinski, the auto parts king.
That's right.
All right, here's a question, random question that popped into my head randomly, because it's random. Which one of the 5 items of currency have you used
the shekel
most recently?
Yeah.
The $2 bill.
Yeah.
The $50 or the Sacagawea dollar coin in a legal transaction, legal tender type transaction, whatever.
I think that the answer is a $2 bill.
Really?
I used to be the treasurer for a kind of a local organization that took cash, kind of like passing the basket.
Yeah.
And I think there was a guy or somebody in the meeting that would routinely just carry around a stack of twos to drop in the basket. Well, no, I didn't rob him, but I would take the money and deposit it into the bank every few weeks.
So how did you use the $2 bill?
Well, I mean,
you would trade it.
Out, like putting it in.
No, I'm talking about like they're like, welcome to McDonald's. Welcome to McDonald's. Your total's $2.17.
Okay.
Here's a 2 spot and 17 pennies.
For using it, probably the dollar, because I think when you purchase like stamps, there was some purchase I did. It's maybe within the last 10 years, but I feel like it was stamps where you put cash in and it would shoot you out those silver dollars or whatever they were.
The Sacagawea?
I didn't examine who was on it, but if you're telling me Sacagawea was on it, I'm willing to take your word for it.
Yeah, the gold ones.
The gold ones, yeah.
With Sacagawea.
Yeah, that's probably the last time.
She was a Native American.
Like,
hero.
You don't know anything about
her. I really don't know her story.
Might have been a him.
I really feel bad about it.
Could have been a him, right?
No, Sacagawea is a woman. Trust me. But, Mark, what about you?
Yeah, Sacagawea dollar.
Really? I used to have a couple that used to come into the Blue Plate when I waited tables there, and they would always tip a $2 bill. And I'm like, I love you folks, but what the hell am I supposed to do with this thing? Well, I found couple of $2 bills in one of my drawers, and I think I'm going to go to McDonald's for an Egg McMuffin after this, and I'm going to pay with a $2 bill. See what they say.
That sounds like a good choice all around in my book. You know, I wanted to say before we go to break on Louisville, I envy them. When you brought up Louisville, and I realized they're ranked, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
And they got Chris Mack, and they're playing relevant games. Nobody transitions better from, like, an end of a terrible era to another great era than Louisville. We'll talk about that maybe when we get back.
Yep.
Thanks, True Guru, for being here. Thanks to the Eye on Sports.
Hey, everybody. The Eye on Sports here to tell you about Advatech. Advatech is a local IT company that manages your business's computer network and technology. They make sure your network is secure to prevent any type of security breach which could possibly compromise your company's information or your customers' information. Advatech is a one-stop shop for any computer problems. No need to waste valuable time on calling tech support. One call, they will handle everything for you. Advatech can also help you save on average $500 a month on your office phones and internet costs by doing a vendor cost analysis for their customers. If you own a business and are tired of frustrating computer issues, call Advatech. Advatech, we are your IT department. Call 901-262-7925 or email support@advatech.com. ADVATEK. Advatech 262-7925.
This is Sergeant Chris Richardson of the Tennessee Highway Patrol reminding all motorists that texting and driving is prohibited by law in Tennessee. Anytime a driver is distracted and takes his eyes off the road or his hands off the wheel, it is unsafe.
You guys know the button.
Texting is the most alarming distraction of all, and our youngest drivers are most at risk. Please commit to distracted-free driving today. It can save lives, maybe even your own. This message brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Patrol.
I have a very honest golf instructor. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Marks Bensdorf Realtors. My instructor is Marty Fulton, a PGA Life member whom you may remember from Plantation, Whispering Woods, or Holiday Golf Club. When I asked him what I might do to improve my game, Marty, what did you tell me?
Sheldon, I told you to get your clubs together, put them in your car, then take them to the nearest lake and toss them in.
Great, Marty. You're a big help.
Sheldon, you're far better at selling homes than you'll ever be at golf. That's why people often say when you want the job done, call Sheldon.
Thanks, Marty. And if you or someone you know is thinking about selling their home, you should talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers and make sure that I am one of them. Find out the difference in what they do in my highly successful strategic marketing program with the Shellbucks option. You or they can reach me at 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. That's Sheldon Rosengarten at 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now.
Welcome back to the Ion Sports with Ira Lipsy, the Ion Sports. I'm Jay Brenner, B-Ball Jones. Coming to you live from AM 730 studios, AM 1600 as well. Ira, we're on both, is that right?
That is correct, sir.
So both YouTube Live, and if you've been looking for us on bballjones.com, we are in the process of a rebrand. You'll be able to find us soon at www.theionsports.com. The Ion Sports. Much like the Rice-A-Roni people, Ira, we are changing our image. So
yeah, you know, where Rice-A-Roni used to be the San Francisco treat, they decided to up and move to Miami.
Right.
We are formerly the B-Ball Jones Network.
Yeah.
Now we'll be the Ion Sports
conglomerate. That's it. That's the ticket. Ira, you mentioned some college hoops games. As we were going to break, I was making the point that nobody transitions better. If you remember back, and you mentioned Denny Crum, and by the way, there is no rivalry that approaches Louisville for Memphis. And I'm not saying that, you know, Cincinnati for a few years they did, but they fell off when Huggins left, and then we fell off. We've never been really good at the same time for any period of time since the early 90s. So that has sort of fizzled. You know, it's there. You sort of see them on the schedule. You circle it. But Memphis is just, quite simply, Memphis has changed conferences too many times. And the makeup of Memphis's conference has changed too many times for there to be a true rival. And so that's just sad, but it's the reality of it. In Conference USA, under John Calipari for 4 or 5 years, there was nobody that even, literally nobody beat them. So you,
literally,
by definition, you cannot have a rival if only one team is winning 100% of the time. So, but Louisville has transitioned from the Crum era, which didn't end well. They sort of forced him out. He was a Hall of Fame coach. He wasn't that old, but the program had fallen off. So they forced him out. It was unpleasant, but they recover immediately by hiring Rick Pitino, and he takes him on a 10, 15-year run in some of the best Big East tournaments. They win a national title, and they were just, at the peak of the sport, at the highest level of the sport for a decade under him. And then he goes down in flames, gets busted for paying guys or steering money from Adidas to guys, getting hookers for recruits. I mean, you couldn't be a dirtier, slimier program and a more disgraceful exit for him. And they just move him on. And next year they bring in Chris Mack, and they're top 15 in the country, playing meaningful games. So, and
Mack's a great coach.
He's a great coach. I think they served their probation last year. So as far as, and even if they have to serve it this year, I mean, who cares? But they're back, and they never went anywhere. So they are truly, they're truly a great program, and I hate them for it.
I know. I hate having to admit that as well. And it was very tough for me last night, especially because I've always hated Duke. And it was hard for me to watch that game and be like, oh, yeah, come on, Louisville, get it together.
Yeah, I mean, when I watch a game like that, I don't really have a rooting interest. You also mentioned the LSU-Kentucky game, and I
mentioned it.
Just noticed, again, both of those teams ranked, and Kentucky ranked top 5. And when I turned it on, they were up 8 or 9. But LSU was just starting to make their run, and the first I heard that LSU had actually come back and won in Rupp Arena was from the Ion Sports.
Yeah, they had their last play was a drive to the bucket, and I think the guy missed, and then one of the other long-armed young men from LSU came in and tipped it in. It's interesting because I think back to when Memphis played LSU earlier this season. That's pretty much like what I remember about them was the they had a bunch of guys who were 6'8", 6'9", long, lean, athletic, and they're pretty good. I think they're going to be some trouble. They're either going to flame out really badly in the NCAA tournament, first round loss to whatever Jabroni State, or they're going to go on a run.
There's your perfect play the middle statement. I mean, that's obvious. But here's the thing.
Yeah, but you're not going to say that about everybody. You're going to be
well, everybody's either going to flame out or go on a run. I mean, you win one game. The only other thing is to lose in the second round, which is sort of like not a run, but not flying.
Okay, if you're a top 15 team and you go to the Sweet 16 and then you lose, that's not a flame out.
Yeah, that's a run.
But it's also where you probably should be.
Either way, I take your point. They had a great, terrific. Congratulations. They had a great win last night. Props to them for that. And, college basketball is, like I said before, this is the time, if you're a college basketball fan, this is the fun time of the season. When, conference play kind of comes down to the wire. I got an email in my inbox, speaking of purchasing tickets and stupid purchases, about the Conference the conference tournament, the AAC tournament, which is where, Ira? It's in FedEx Forum. Yeah, it's in FedEx Forum.
Actually, Jay, I wanted to mention this to you, and since
please,
we're on the air, and who cares? Will you look into that for me today if you get a chance?
Yeah, what do you want me to look into?
About us getting press credentials for that tournament.
Oh.
I sent an email, but it was supposed to go to some third party about getting press credentials, and I never heard back from anybody.
My guess is that they'll defer that stuff to the school as the host institution, and then you got to go through Stukenberg, which I'll be happy to email Stukenberg, but I wouldn't count on them giving us credentials.
Find out. I don't even know if I'll be able to go. I don't know if there's baseball that weekend or not.
The policy last year was that if you didn't cover them all season, you weren't getting credentials for any postseason stuff, which I actually understand that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable!
Yeah, that's the deal. Dipping back into the NBA for a moment, the Lakers lost again last night to the Hawks. They fell under 500. They're 28-29, 2.5 games back of Sacramento for the final playoff spot. So currently, LeBron James out of the playoff picture. Now, I expect a couple things to happen. One, I expect they'll make the playoffs. I expect they'll get it together. But I also expect, Ira, that Luke Walton's going to get fired, within the week. You heard it here first.
I think Luke Walton will be out before, probably by then. There's All-Star breaks coming up this weekend. So, I agree with that. And I think they will make the playoffs.
Ira, I just picked my nose a little bit. Not like a big pick, but I've got maybe a pimple or something.
You got a hanger?
It's not a hanger, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I just realized we're on YouTube, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, we are.
So anyway, I'll keep an eye on that.
Feel free to pick away on that one.
So the Lakers, what I wanted to point out about that,
playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
That's a good drop. That's Jim Mora. With Indianapolis, not New Orleans. Correct?
Believe that's correct.
That's correct. He had another kind of viral moment with New Orleans when he talked about how bad they were in some game, and he used diddly poo. We couldn't do diddly poo. No! Yeah, no diddly poo on that. So,
Jay, I just had a nose scratch, and I forgot I'm on camera, too. So.
Yeah, well, that's the little box in the corner, but that's fine. That New Orleans Lakers trade that did not work out, Anthony Davis to the Lakers for everybody on the roster, that appears to have set both teams back for the time being. Now, maybe the All-Star break happens, you get it back together. New Orleans loses by 30 on the road last night to the Magic.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny, Jay. I was at a board meeting last night, and we're sitting there. We're discussing something, and how the whole thing was that they were talking about whether or not the whole Anthony Davis thing, and then trolling the Lakers was designed to, get their whole team, bent out of shape and mad at LeBron or whatever. And so we were talking about something. We weren't talking about basketball. We're talking about something related to the board. And one of the guys on the board says, "Oh yeah, man, that's like a total Anthony Davis move. They're just trying to get everybody riled up." So he was brought in. He's like, "Yeah, we got Anthony Davis on that one." So he actually brought that into a real life situation. It's pretty funny.
It's there. So I was listening on the way in to you and Mark talk about the Grizzlies' loss, And it occurred to me, I don't even know what I'm rooting for. We want them to win. We want them to lose. We want them to win just enough, but not too much.
I think we want them to win just enough or not enough to be. So we can.
So you don't know either. Is what you're
No.
saying.
I know that we want to be in the lottery, and we want to get like a top. Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. I don't know if everybody's on the same page. I think some people want us to finish.
What if they finished first? Would they be able to convey the pick? If they win every game from here on out, they finish first in the West.
If they win every game?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. The question, I don't know. The question is,
that's the bottom line.
Do you want?
Nobody knows.
Jay, you either want to finish to where you can get one of the top 2 or 3 picks, one, 2 or 3, I guess, or you want to finish just good enough that you're going to finish like, I guess, whatever, 9 through 14, and then you have to convey that pick, and then you're done with that deal.
We need Mark back. We'll get Mark on this. Mark,
The
you're
game
listening
show
to
is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
Mark, if you're listening, text one of us. Tell us what the deal is with this pick. Are we rooting for wins or losses? The bottom line is, you're right, Conley didn't play with the illness, which was a little disappointing. You also mentioned the young guns, but again, Avery Bradley comes out career high. That was his career high, and he's not young. You know, he's almost 30-year-old guard. But anyway, so the Grizzlies,
but he's also the guy that the organization's been looking at for like 7 years.
They like him. They like him. And by the time they're competitive again, he'll be 45.
Yes.
So that's great. That is terrific. Did you have some questions for me, Ira, before we do some retro news?
Did I have some questions for you?
Yeah, you said you had some questions for me. You wanted to ask me some questions.
No, I had the random question about the currency situation.
Oh, right. Good. Yeah, I like
just
that.
want to address one thing quickly.
Please.
Someone had asked me off the air about why my sign-off is adios, muchacho.
Yeah.
Well, here's why.
Tell us why.
Well, it's not why.
You're not on. You got to turn your mic.
I'm
back.
sorry. Here's what it is.
Adios, muchacho. Por favor.
Did not watch MASH, obviously, when I was 7 years old, but subsequently I've seen, it was on for a long time, I've probably seen over 50% of all MASH episodes ever. And like any good TV show that has a long run, you had like at least 2 or 3 of the main characters, you know, switch. Like somebody left the show and a new guy came in. Like you had
like Shelley Long and Kirstie
like
Alley.
Shelley Long and Cheers, right? You had Harry Morgan was Colonel Potter, and then before that you had Colonel Blake come in, or you had BJ, and then you had Winchester. It's like you have different guys, but they were all good, and it was a pretty good show. What's really awesome about MASH, if you ever find yourself like, oh, I'm going to watch some MASH episodes, they're always had like, you know, some character who was a soldier who got shot and was in the hospital or whatever. Tons of like stars before they became stars. You know?
Yeah.
Like you're watching, it's like, oh, there's Tom Berenger in the hospital or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ira, happy.
A lot of that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Ira, happy birthday to Jerry Springer, 74.
Springer, I met him a couple of years ago. Really nice guy. All right, here, quickly, Jay.
Yeah.
Mark says rooting to finish 9th.
But does it have to be at
Top
the 9th?
3 pick, convey the pick.
But what if they finish 10th, 11th, 12th? I don't know.
Yeah, Mark. That's just what Mark
I'll
said.
have to-
I don't know.
Hey, happy birthday, Coach K, 71 years old.
How about that, Coach K?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's a
I mean,
good
no
point.
offense.
No, that's a good point.
Jay, did you happen to catch any of the dog show last night?
No.
The Wire Fox Terrier won Best in Show.
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching the dog show. It's pretty cool, actually. And you as a dog lover, I'm surprised you didn't watch it more. But
Yeah.
anyway, the Wire Terrier won, and that's also the dog that has won the most times. So there you go.
Congrats to that dog. What was his name?
King. Real
King?
original. Yeah, King.
Yeah, that's pretty
Very
good.
original. Hey, Jay, we're out of time. I
Okay.
just realized.
Well, yeah. Also, before we get out of here, very important. Happy birthday, Randy Moss, 41 years old.
Randy Moss.
Yeah, 41. Former football player.
Yeah, true.
All right, I've enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Well, Jay, thanks for coming. And I appreciate you making the effort to get here, despite your fatherly duties that you have to take care of.
Yep. You're welcome.
Anyway, on behalf of Mr. B-Ball Jones and the true guru, Mark Kaplan, Ira Lipsy, the Ion Sports, saying, you guessed it, adios, muchacho.
Muchacho. One person? Yo. Music.
Anything?
Cut up and be the same side.
You just cut in for a second.
I continue
Yes.
to just prove myself right, and that's kind of that.
Sounds like the
approach,
SB
you know,
Nation.
I always have to prove people wrong. There'll always be doubters. I know my abilities, and I have goals for myself higher than them anyway. And that's kind of the way I approach the whole thing. And I'll continue to just keep working my butt off.
The gold standard with